There we go. All right. Sunday morning live. Whew. All right. We've got a list of things here, and we're trying to talk about Sunday morning. Feel free to get in on the chat. This Sunday, Stolen Bones Live, Sunday morning. I was going to do this yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to. A lot of things I didn't get a chance to do yesterday because when it comes to screwing off, I'm pretty good at it. Anyways, I got my coffee, my little heart mug, because I broke all the other ones. And just had a gig last night with Jokers to the Right, which is a cover band, 3-piece cover band here in Oklahoma. Look them up on their YouTube channel. We only have 13 subscribers over there. It'd be really nice if we could get to 50 at least and be able to do some live streaming from different venues, which would be really cool. So go to Jokers to the Right YouTube page. There we go. And anyways, not a real late night. Got home about 11:30. So gig was at the lake, at a lake house, and the noise ordinance makes it to where you can't play past 10. So it's a nice early show. Started at 6 to 10. Got to hand it to the guys for playing for 4 hours. Three and a half hours if you take breaks. So not a lot of bands can play for 3.5 hours. Let me I realize this opening is not very good, but that's okay. This is the first Sunday live stream. So welcome to the live stream. If you're new here, which I know you are, please feel free to get in the chat. If you catch it while it's still live, get in the chat. I'd love to hear from where you're from. See, we'll talk about work a little bit as handyman. Been pretty slow the last week or so. I mean, a couple houses to get ready for move-in, cleaning up yards, fall yard waste, things that just weren't done last year when people moved out. So houses have been empty for a couple months, one of them at least. And then right now it's getting somebody's put in a new floor in, new bathroom, shower area, and I'm just kind of cleaning up the outside a little bit. So kind of worked myself into a couple yard mowing jobs this summer, at least till the houses sell or rent, which is fine. It's a little bit easier to do than most other things. Yeah, one of the things I want to talk about is how, everybody that's our age, Gen X, boomers, everybody, I mean, Gen Z and the millennials, they don't really need encouragement to get online. They've been doing that their whole lives. But if you're Gen X and boomer, you really need to think about getting into YouTube and making the videos. If you're interested in it at all, if you have something you're doing, some hobbies, some work experience, you can be really helpful to younger people who could watch your videos and really benefit from some of your sage knowledge. I'm sure many of you have more knowledge to give than I even have. So I think your excuses of not doing it are really non-existent. If you've thought about doing it at all, you have the free time, you already have the technology, it's in your pocket, it's on your cell phone. And just oh my gosh. There's a mouse in here. What the? Where's that sucker? I just heard him. I'm gonna have to fumigate this room. Some kind of rodent's taking over this place. Anyway, get back to YouTube. Yeah, it's difficult. And let me explain to you, if you've never done YouTube, you have first you have your impressions. So when you put the video out on YouTube, the first thing that's going to happen is YouTube's going to determine whether or not they're going to show your video to people, and their job is to find your viewers and find out who's likely to watch your videos. And they do that by doing small tests, especially in the beginning phase. So you might upload a video and you'll see on your impressions that there's 4 or 5 impressions in any given hour, like the second hour after you upload. And out of those 4 or 5 impressions, somebody may click on that thumbnail and watch a video. Now, let's say your video is like 8 minutes long and you get 2 or 3 minutes before they click off and go somewhere else, then that's going to show your watch time. And your watch time combined with the amount of people, your click-through rate, is going to determine just exactly whether or not they're going to show it to anybody else. So if they show it to somebody else, another group of people, say 7 or 8 people, 10 people, and 2 people click on, and you get more average time than 2 or 3 minutes, then they're going to show that to even more people in the next test. And they keep running that test in small groups. And they're doing that with this channel now because I kind of switched and broadened what this channel is all about. So don't think that when you're recording a video that everybody in the world is going to see it. It's going to be a struggle at first, especially for a new channel. You might only get 2,000 or 3,000 impressions over the course of a month, and depending on how the video performs, and you may not even get 100 impressions for the first week or so. And out of that 100 people, a small percentage of them are going to click and watch and maybe even comment. The one thing you're going to want is somebody to comment. But so don't let that be a barrier to making YouTube videos and putting them out there for people to see, because you need that time of obscurity to kind of hone in what you're doing on this end of the camera, whatever you're doing. If you're going to talk in front of the camera, if you're going to make videos of projects that you're doing, home improvement projects, if you're going to show some transformation of cleaning the car. I mean, really, unless you get in front of the camera, it doesn't, it's more personal when you're in front of the camera. So you're going to be more skittish about doing it. But the thing with this, people aren't going to see you that much anyway. So don't worry about that too much. Anyway, that's that on the YouTube. If you're over 50, think about getting into YouTube. Right now, I'm going to try to do a series of live videos. I was aiming for Saturday. I didn't make it yesterday morning, so I'm making up today on Sunday morning. But more likely, it's going to be on Saturday mornings. Well, the next thing on here, I'll switch over to music, and that's going to tie into the gig last night, where I want to talk about how rock may not be dead, but old classic rock. That time period when radio was new, bands were new, equipment was new, the technology to record was new, fairly new. That time frame, that explosion, the Beatles and Elvis, and then everything that came after that's never going to happen again. There's never going to be a time when society as a whole is all going to hear the same music at the same time. Probably the last time that really happened was the grunge era, when Nirvana came out, that changed everything. And I'm not so sure they didn't push that, the record companies, because I have seen videos where they talked about, hey, the record companies will sign somebody, but you're not going to dress like that anymore. You're going to be more dark colors, and you're going to sing about darker subjects, or we're not going to sign you. And so that might have been somewhat fabricated. But in real time, in the early 90s, that kind of, for us that were growing up through that period of time, we experienced it firsthand. We didn't experience it as it came out totally natural to us. It was an evolution of the music, the lightheartedness of much of the 80s, the hair bands, the MTV generation. That was an explosion in itself. And then the 90s with grunge, which, I thoroughly enjoyed grunge. Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, to some extent Pearl Jam. All those bands represented really the 90s. And a lot of people really just, that are in my generation, that was rock. Those bands were still influenced by the bands that really kind of came about as the new technology of recording, mixing, and the record companies pushing out in the 60s and 70s, and in some cases maybe in the 50s, because a lot of those people just grew up listening to that, and that's when that inspired them to buy a guitar when they were a kid. And then there's millions of people. Everybody owns guitars. Millions of guys own guitars. It's a huge business, and everybody likes to learn how to play an instrument as they get older. And not everybody's going to be a star. Not everybody's even going to be proficient enough to write a song or to play a song all the way through. That's not the point. A few are. And that time in the 90s, it really felt like, the guys got together, they started a band, they wrote their songs, and then they really had an opportunity to go play clubs and everything. And I'm not so sure, maybe in larger towns, if you live in in a larger city, and like you're in Boston or New York or Chicago or something like that, there's probably plenty of places to gig. But I don't know if the audience is really into rock anymore. I know from what I see, running sound for a classic rock cover band is mostly what I see are people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s that really appreciate that music. Everybody else that's younger, they tend to not really, they don't dislike the music. They like the music in the background, but it is background music to them. It's not something that they grew up listening to. It's not the soundtrack of their life. Many of them grew up listening to hip hop and rap, and that's really their genre that they're most familiar with. And as far as classic rock songs, they may have heard them in passing, maybe from their parents. Now, one thing that is encouraging is occasionally there would be a 22, 23-year-old person at a gig, and they grew up with a Gen X parent, and they grew up listening to, say, Leonard Skinner, Led Zeppelin, and they know those songs because they listen to them themselves, and that that is encouraging, but it's really not the norm for a 22-year-old to really know some of that classic rock. I mean, I'm 57. Led Zeppelin was huge as I was growing up, and they were already well established before I even came into really listening to music. I'd say mid 70s is where, when I was like 9 or 10, I'd be at the swimming pool or something, and that's where I heard music played for the first time, as people at the apartments would point their speakers out their windows and crank the radio up on, I believe it was 96X rock station. That was before the Cat came into Oklahoma City, 100.5. 96, I remember 96X, and I remember hearing Queen, Cheap Trick, Journey, Marshall Tucker Band, some AC/DC probably, Leonard Skinner, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC. I don't think Black Sabbath got radio play back then. Maybe they did. But that's the youngest memory I have. And now that I'm older, I'm looking at the younger generations when they come to, when they're at the bar and the band is playing. Yeah, they'll be over there playing pool, and they appreciate the live music, but they don't really know the live music. So that's kind of a dying art, as a classic rock band, as far as I can see, because they get in their groups and they circle about themselves and they talk. They don't listen. They It doesn't make a difference to them if the guitar player is hitting every note dead on or missing every other note, because they don't know the difference anyways. They don't know the difference between how the song is even played. It's not ingrained in their memory, and that time period is just, it's done. It's over with. Um, I'm not saying the music's over with. It's just there's not going to be another time in history where a music genre is going to explode like it did. Not just a genre, but the phenomenon of having music, rock music, FM radio blowing up again. It's just not going to happen. Everything is on Spotify or streaming services. People don't even experience, they used to, when a new song would drop on the radio, everybody heard it pretty much within the same 2 or 3 days, and they had the same aha experience all at the same time. And I don't think that even happens anymore. Maybe a TikTok video might introduce a song that everybody gets familiar with, but that's probably just a 30-second snippet, or maybe even shorter. So that rock and roll period, it's got to be kept alive, but it's never going to explode like that again. Probably the grunge era was the last big explosion of music like that, when everybody heard the same thing at the same time. Now, let's talk about AI, because I hear a lot of stuff about AI, about these data centers. I know of two here in Oklahoma that are being built. They're breaking ground, and the amount of water it takes and electricity it takes. Is this going to make life better, or is it going to make it? Uh, are they going to empower themselves and diminish humankind? But it seems to me humans are already the ones behind diminishing the population. I don't think AI has an agenda to decrease the population as much as um, humans do already. So one thing, it can do it can do great things with AI. I mean, it could be like a new era where medical technology, battery technology, everything could just explode. I mean, it could even help farming and food production, or food distribution, or education. I mean, if if you had an AI teacher, and all of a sudden homeschooling is totally possible, and the parents' education level is not going to change the amount of education that somebody's going to get, because AI can teach your kids probably better than a ninth grade dropout. Uh, Although I would say in life I've met a few eighth grade dropouts, and they were quite successful. So don't really equate education with success, because many people who had less education than others turned out to be very successful. So it's a matter of what you do with it. But I think AI is very good for certain things, at least in the early stages. It's really encouraging to be able to just bounce ideas with ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, and some of the things that are happening with it. At the same time, if we become totally dependent on it and we don't use our minds anymore, then yeah, that's going to be a problem. But I don't think the younger generation is embracing AI like maybe Gen X is, and maybe Gen X is only 50% embracing AI. Um, and the older generation, boomers, I don't think are probably embracing it too much. It's a fun little thing at times to maybe do some Photoshop type stuff that AI can do, which is really pretty cool. It does a lot of weird things. There's movies being made that are AI, fully generated, and you know, it's pretty amazing. It's really an amazing time to be able to have a conversation with a seemingly live person with with no emotion. They don't the AI thing doesn't have any emotion. So when you correct it, you catch it when it's wrong, it quickly just goes, "Oh yeah, I was wrong on that." I think it's I think it's really pretty interesting. The one thing you don't want an AI to do is do every bit of your thinking for you. But what's really great, what I've used it for, is making emails and making bullet points on a list here. I can speak into my phone, with the ideas of topics, bullet points. I can then have it, I can copy and paste that into an email, send that over here to my laptop, and then print it off. Whereas I don't have to type, I don't have to put the keyboard in. Nowhere is in the equation of my workflow. I did take typing in the seventh grade, eighth grade on a typewriter. I know how to type, but it's a hell of a lot faster if you just speak it into your phone and it makes the list for you, and you copy and paste it and email it over. And I'm sure if I installed it on the laptop, I could probably just speak into it, and that would eliminate one email step. So it's how you use the tools, we think. And let's get on to the next subject. This topic, I made a video last week, published it, The Big Squeeze. Feel free to go watch that. The Big Squeeze is really about the economy and what's really being done to us. And what I think is being done, I think is being done on purpose, is they are squeezing the middle class out of existence to either just make it more pliable. Because it's one thing for the powers that be to manipulate poor people. They can be swayed with benefits or programs or everything, but people that are self-sufficient is dangerous to their system. So if you got a middle class and they're making their own money and they are not getting assistance through the government in any way, and they're actually funding the government, they can negate some of the things that maybe the government wants to steer society in. So on a grand scheme, what's happening is I believe that they're just squeezing the middle class into poverty by purposely ruining the economy. And I think they're purposely ruining the economy because the currency system is about 20 years past its longevity date. It was not supposed to last from 1913 to 2026. It was supposed to last about 100 years and fail. And because of they've kept it alive because they got behind on their agenda. And I think what caused that is the internet caused people to be able to get information through alternate sources and not be spoon fed. So had the internet not come out, people would still be watching the nightly news like they did in the 80s and 90s, and they would still be getting gaslit by those news corporations that were. It was way easier to control 5 or 6 news corporations than it is to shut off to shut down the whole internet with the hundreds and thousands of people that broadcast on YouTube news and independent reporting. That's been a thorn, and I believe it's been a thorn in their side to have information as readily available to whoever wants it. Now, is it a good or bad thing? Is it a good thing that that technology took it to the point where you can have a recording studio in your bedroom and everybody can make music? The good point is everybody can make music. The bad side is everybody can make music. So it is what it is. So you got to take the good with the bad on that. And with the news coming through your computer and information being more diverse, and people can make up their own mind, and it's made it harder for the population to be controlled but at the same time, it does muddy the waters a little bit because you don't exactly know what's trusted, what can be trusted as far as news. Now, some people out there who hate the term fake news, and maybe that's not the right term. It's not fake news; it's manipulated news. Um, that makes it fake, but that might be too simple. All right. Next topic: why older people should start YouTube. I think I touched on that a little bit. Um, because of your experience, because you've lived 30 years more than the typical YouTuber. It doesn't make you. It doesn't make you behind. It makes you actually have more relevant information if you can put it out there to where the younger generations can learn from it. Just and the systems may not be the same over time, but just having that information out there, they can glean the useful information and process it and make it useful for today's time and how they see fit. And that education builds upon itself over and over again. And YouTube is a free hosting site for videos. 20 million videos a day are uploaded. That's unfathomable. 115 million channel owners on YouTube, which YouTube been around since 2010, 2012, something like that, maybe longer. But that's a lot of videos. I can't believe they can actually host 20 million videos a day being uploaded. Just to watch the videos that were uploaded yesterday would probably take you 50 years to watch. That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. Coming from a system where in the 7th grade we had to go to the library and use the Dewey Decimal System. How are you going to use the Dewey Decimal System on 20 million videos? It's just crazy to think about. 100 years ago, televisions didn't even exist. They didn't have a way to make a video go from a camera to a television. And now we have a phone that is a camera that goes directly to the internet to transmit what was just recorded with high definition to the rest of the world. What an amazing time to be alive. And I think people take it for granted now that are younger, but it is really, I find it extremely amazing that I can shoot a video and right now it's being directly put onto YouTube and played live right now. Just crazy. Just crazy. All right, we're 33 minutes and 57 seconds into this, and I cannot see if anybody is even on here. I have no thumbs up. Looks like nobody's watching. Do you guys know how hard this is to talk to nobody? It's actually not that hard. If you've done it in front of the camera a few times, it gets a little bit easier. But that first time, that in college I took broadcasting, and then we had the first project of pretty much acting like we were on actual radio and making commercials and stuff. And you push that record button, and your brain shuts off. It's called you just freeze up. It's incredible. So that's the first thing you're going to have to deal with if you're trying to do a YouTube video. Is you're going to find that you're going to have to start over a couple times that first few times. All right. Topic number 3. topic number 3 is the death of real conversation. And I don't know if it's really dying, but those of us that grew up listening to AM radio late at night, late in bed, listening to call-in shows, and I know a lot of us guys did that. I remember listening to the Art Bell show. I remember the local rock station used to play the Lost Lennon tapes. I really liked listening to that, where they would, I mean, John Lennon just recorded everything. When he had studio time, he had a studio, and he just recorded, and it showed how he would start writing a song, and it would split off into another song, and he'd make 2 songs out of one or 3 songs out of one, and take part of a song over here, and it was just listening to that back in the late '80s was really eye opening. It's great. It's a great process. It translates into YouTube when you're doing it live. You can later edit this down into different 5 or 8 or 10 or 15-minute segments to make videos, to make a separate video, because many people won't watch a 1 hour long live, and but people will watch a 5 or 10 or 15-minute long form video, and it's good to get out there and just do a long form video. For one, with the TikTok invention and the 3-minute video, which is a short on YouTube, you can go 3 minutes on YouTube as a short, which is nice because that does extend people's attention span a little bit. But people's attention spans were already short before YouTube. I think back in the 80s and 90s, they figured that most people's attention span was about 7.5 minutes. So I'm sure TikTok has that down to about 3. And that's why YouTube has 3-minute time limit on shorts. Getting back to another thing about AI, with my bullet point, AI is about to change everything. AI is about to change everything. And as a handyman, at least I know that AI is not going to fix people's walls. It's not going to paint their bathrooms. It's not going to fix the trim around their front porch from storm damage. Things like that. It's not going to hang mini blinds. It's not going to hang a ceiling fan, at least not right away. So what it is going to do, it's going to eliminate a lot of white collar jobs, clerical jobs, lawyers. You probably get on AI already and have legal paperwork drawn up, and it's just as good as if a real person did it. And that's going to be something else. That's going to be a big change for a lot of people, especially those working class, those the white collar jobs who make more money. All of a sudden, they're going to be strained financially, possibly. I mean, they're going to have to be flexible, but these people are going to be put out of work, as far as, or at least diminished. And in 10 years' time, we don't know what 10 years is going to show us. In 2004, we had cell phones, but we didn't have smartphones. And I'll tell you what, once that smartphone hit, and you could surf the internet, do your emails, text, it pretty much eliminated even having a personal computer. When I got a smartphone in 2011, I don't think I really used a personal computer much at all, except for maybe a bigger screen. tying into the older generation getting into YouTube. I mean, you've got that real life experience that does matter, and YouTube is really a digital history book. This information that you make public, you put out there is going to be available for technically, possibly forever. Um, Now, whether it matters anymore, that's going to be beside the point. But for right now, for the next 10 or 15 years, YouTube is a great place to go to learn how to work on your car, work on say you're working on your air conditioning at your house. People can do self-help projects at home, learn how to build, and it just makes it just makes the whole experience of being able to do things just so much better. You don't have to have a specialist come to your house and do anything anymore. If you've got some basic tools, many times you can do exactly what they were going to do and save that money. And I'm not saying because I need to put handyman out of business. I live in a town of 11,000 people, and there's probably about 20 handymen in the area, if not more, trying to keep these old houses going. So I'm not worried about my existence as a handyman because really I'm going to be aging out here in the next few years, possibly. But the people underneath, who am I going to call when I'm 70 to come work on my house? Um, the younger guys aren't really doing it, and they should. I think the younger guys should get out there and start lawn mowing jobs and get out there and be your own business, be your own income. I see people online all the time. It's usually a wife, and they'll be on the Facebook groups. And my husband needs a job, and he's a really good worker. He's diligent. You know what? If your wife has to do that, you're probably not a good worker. If your wife has to get on there and tell everybody what a great worker you are, you might not be a good worker. What's the saying? Tell me you're not a good worker without telling me you're not a good worker. Oh, here's something I went and tried to do this week. I found out apparently there's flock cameras, FLOC, right? Yeah, FLOC. Flock cameras are being put all around the country without people voting on them. With really, it's just an outside contractor, much like the red light cameras did. But what these flock cameras do is they're just in different areas, and as you drive by, they take a picture of your car, who's driving, what your license plate. It can run that license plate number for law enforcement, or at least makes it available for law enforcement. And right off the bat, when they put one in here in town, what they did is they used it to, I think they found a stolen car within a week. And then they published that in the paper, local paper, and the news as the good thing. But what these cameras are doing, and what reminds me of an article that I saw probably about 2011, and it was a project called Planetary Skin. Might have actually been about 2009, because if y'all don't remember, 2009 was the year that um, they changed the RF frequencies for television, and they went into digital high definition television and got rid of they stopped using that frequency spectrum of that used to be used by the television, and they freed that up for RF in shopping experiences. So what I ran across in about 2010 was a website called Planetary Skin, and it was a joint group from Cisco and all those tech companies. And what they wanted to do was make RFID readers all throughout the globe. And as people were being tracked through items in their clothes or just items on their cars, items and products, that they would be able to sense, essentially give the skin like technology to the whole planet Earth. And they would be able to track and trace movements of people in real time. And part of the things they wanted to do was like time stoplights to make traffic flow faster and smoother. But they also wanted to know when people were walking into Walmarts, when they were walking in, walking in and out of stores, what they were carrying, what they were doing. And what these flock cameras are doing is they're taking photos. Many times, some people, depending on your route, if you drive by these cameras every day, then they're getting real-time data that over the course of time, they can build a profile on you, and they can find out when you're normally not home, when what's in your car, who's in your car, what you're doing, where you're going, because not only is that camera reporting on you, but there's 30 other cameras that you could be coming across, and that's reporting on you too. So they find out, oh, you left the house at this time, and now you showed up over here on this camera, and now you're at the Home Depot in this town, and now you're over here. And some of the bad things that are happening is it's putting alerts out on certain people, and they're getting warrants, and then they get pulled over. And because it's not really law enforcement, but law enforcement can use it, it puts out the warrant. Law enforcement pulls you over because you've been flagged as having a warrant, but there's no recourse to take the warrant to take the warrant away. This is a private company, so it could be punitive. People, the flock system could decide, hey, we want to this group of people, this demographic, we want to shut them down. We want to impede their travels. And then what? Everybody in that demographic could easily be flagged as a stolen vehicle or whatever. Some things I don't even want to say, but it's not good that all these cameras are going to be everywhere where you're tracked and traced and given a credit score, and you're allowed to be that, oh, he doesn't agree with our system or whatever, and we're gonna use our system to impede his life and make sure he can't interfere with ours. And that's human nature, sadly. But using the brute force of government to achieve their goals is really heinous. And you can go to Have I Been Flocked, and you put your tag number in, and it can tell you if you have been flocked, if your car has been photographed moving about your area. I did it on mine, and there's a map that shows where all the flock cameras are. Supposedly there's 5 flock cameras in this town. I drove by 2 of the places where it says they are. And granted, it was kind of raining that day, so maybe I didn't get a clear view, but I did not see the cameras as I drove around looking for them. But I don't know if they're on regular telephone poles or on separate pole. Now, the ones I've seen pictured, they're on their own pole, and they're about maybe 10 foot tall or whatever. But it doesn't mean that those flock cameras aren't up on a telephone pole 20 feet up. I did not find it. I'm going to make a video about it when I find one, because I find it very interesting that a private company can put 20,000 cameras out and government lets them, and because they get to use it. Um, the public doesn't vote on that. And people might say, well, if you don't have anything to hide, you don't have anything to be afraid of. Well, that's not true. You still, whether you know your rights or not, you still have a right to have a real person pull you over and give you a ticket that you could talk to. There's once we get into the realm where we're only dealing, and maybe the AI is bad, if we're only dealing with AI and we have no recourse to talk to a human being or change a policy on something, then that is by definition a beast system. And because a beast doesn't care about you. It has no heart. It has no real understanding or anything compared to what a human is and how a human acts and responds and what a human might be doing. Sure, AI might be able to extrapolate exactly what it's like to be human, but it doesn't know and it doesn't feel. So these flock cameras could be basically they're feeler points, just like the planetary skin thing was. And so go to Have I Been Flocked and see if your car has been flocked. And I'm going to follow up on that as time permits, because I find it very interesting that in a small town that we have 5 of those cameras already. I know there was one put out about a year or so ago, and I didn't really think too much of it. I do remember thinking, oh, that's not necessarily good. And there's cameras everywhere; they're all over. But it's one thing if government puts the camera out there, they have to follow procedures. But if a private company is out there, then they're collecting your data, they're selling your data, and your information that they're gleaning off of watching you. They're selling that and making money, and they don't have your best interest at heart. So anyway, I see that I'm about done with my hour here. I'm really finding it kind of amazing. This is nobody maybe watched, but that's okay, because it was an exercise of seeing if I could do it from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. I started a little bit late. Looks like I started about 10 minutes late. If you did show up here and you're watching on the rebroadcast, feel free to put a comment in anyways, because I will answer any comments, as long as I'm not inundated with comments all day long, and it doesn't look like I have anything to worry about right now as far as the early progression of this channel. Thank you to any subscribers that may watch this. Thank you to anybody who might put this video on and watch it or leave it on while you go do the dishes or whatever. That helps the channel out. Comments help. Like and subscribe helps. And hopefully I get this kind of polished up a little bit.